They've totally changed. So Florida is different. And so you keep asking yourself, why is it different? It's different because we have great leaders. And I'm standing for Byron Donalds because I know he's going to be that great leader that continues that service. There's a couple of things about him that make him different than the other candidates. One is he's going to say what he means and means what he says. It's very easy to see polling and say, oh, this is something that's popular, I'm going to say it. Oh, this is the way, I got a couple emails, so now I got to change what I say. You know what? There's a leader in Tallahassee now who's not that way. His name's Ron DeSantis, sorry. His name's Governor Ron DeSantis. If Ron DeSantis had followed the popular thing to do, or if Ron DeSantis had gotten a few emails and said, oh, I got to change my policy, imagine what Florida would have been like during COVID. Think about it. The Democrats would have had nowhere to vacation during COVID because of him. But that's what Ron DeSantis did. He had a backbone. He stood up for what was right. The other person, the reason I stand for Byron Donalds is because I know who the person he is. He has guts. And I'll tell you a very quick story about one of the people who has been closest in my lives who told me he has guts. And that was my dad. So my dad was a retired captain of the Philadelphia Police Department. And, Philly, yes. He was what you consider that typical big city cop. Sand brown, leather jacket. He was tough as nails. And I'll never forget, during the 2024 election, this is how tough my dad was. He'd wear his Trump shirt everywhere in Philly. And I'd be like, Dad, he's like, no. People come up to me, they're like, I'm afraid to wear it, but thank you for wearing that shirt. And he told me, this is during the 2024 election, he goes, I know who your next governor is going to be. I'm like, who, Dad? And he goes, Byron Donalds. And so I said, hey, Dad, nobody's announced that. He goes, I'm telling you, he's tough, and he's going to do what he has to do to get the job done. And so I never forget, and God rest my dad, his soul, because he passed away a few months later. But I never forget, it always sinks in my mind. He goes, hey, Bear, never forget what I said. Byron Donalds is going to be your next governor. So two things out of that. Yes, my nickname was Bear, and he always called me Bear growing up. But the other one, too, is one of the wisest people I've ever met in my life, who made me who I am today, told me who's going to be the next governor way before anybody even thought about it. But there's another reason why we have to get together and stand together after Tuesday for Byron Donalds, because we can't allow Florida to fall apart. And I will tell you, there's a candidate out there who is Joe Biden 2.0. So after Philly, I went and played football at the University of Delaware. Is there any Blue Hens here? Oh, wow, is there one? Okay, one person knew who the Blue Hens are. That's very good. But at the University of Delaware, there was always, as we'd be in the field, we'd always look up, and there was always one person there who we knew. It was Joe Biden. Joe Biden at that time was a blue dog Democrat. He stood with law enforcement, took pictures with them, said, I'm going to stand by you. I'm always going to fight for law enforcement. What happened when he became president? He became the total opposite. First off, he ran his campaign from his basement. And I always say, thank God there's no basements in Florida, because Jolly can't run his campaign from there. But at the same time, as you had a person who said, no, I'm going to be with you, I'm going to stand for this, and he caved on everything. During defund the police, he was the worst person, because he stood there with his hands in his pocket and watched law enforcement get destroyed everywhere across this country except for Florida, because we had Ron DeSantis. When you see all these protests in the street, they had people that were standing there and they were picketing and doing everything else. And he stood with the protesters, and he didn't stand for the good people that were trying to get to work. He wasn't standing for the victims that were in an ambulance trying to get somewhere. That's who he stood with. We can't allow that to go on. We can't allow another person to say something else and then get in office and do the exact opposite, because the far left control the Democrat Party right now. And I will say this, there is one thing, and there is a hill to die on. And that hill to die on is for fathers out there, and for grandparents, or for uncles or aunts. If you have a daughter that plays sports, the hill that we will all die on, I will die on, is the fact that transgender should not be playing against girls. It's just not right. It's not It's not. You always hear from the far left, fair. How is that fair? How are we empowering our young girls if we're allowing boys and men to compete against them? It's absolutely horrible. And then look what just happened in Massachusetts, if you don't want to see how the far left is taking over the Democrat Party. They're allowing abortions up to the moment of delivery. It is absolutely horrendous. And that's what happens when you elect people that say they're going to be moderates, and they turn out to show who they really are. And that is far left-wing extremists, socialists, communists, everything put together. And that's what the Democrat Party has become. No, there's not. There's only Joe Bidens and all the fake Democrat liberals. So I will tell you this. On Tuesday, if you haven't decided who to vote for, it's Byron Donalds. If you already voted already, then you got to get all your neighbors out to vote for Byron Donalds. And there's even a bigger role coming on Wednesday, and that's unifying our party. It's making sure Republicans stand up for the biggest thing we have to do, is make Florida the great state it has been. To continue the legacy of Ron DeSantis, of Rick Scott, and making sure that we have another great governor, and that's going to be Byron Donalds. So I ask all of you to do that. Join in this fight. Because why? Many of us came from places that we never would go back to again. And we don't want Florida to turn into that. So I'm going to bring up somebody, as you've already heard, who's done a phenomenal job. Representative Adam Anderson. You know, he is a leader, and there's so many things he's done from the medical field, from helping the unborn, from helping those that are fighting diseases. He has been that strong leader. He's not the one that's going to stand up there and say, oh, give me the awards. He's the one who's going to work hard. And I ask you this, please vote for Representative Anderson, and I'm also going for this district too. So the two of us together are going to do, together it's going to take two of us to do half of what Speaker Sprouse has done for this community. But we're going to do everything we can because Speaker Sprouse has been the unbelievable leader for this community, has helped this whole area out. And there's one other person that I'm going to need to help work with me to do half the amount of work that Speaker Sprouse has done. So with that, Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Sheriff Nacco. North Pinellas, I have one question for you this morning. Are you ready to meet your next governor? Before I start, I just want to join me in recognizing and thanking our previous speakers, former Speaker Chris Sprouse, our chairman of the board here at SBC, Jason Butts, Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco, and your next state senator, Chris Nacco. Chris, I'm really looking forward to working with you in the Florida Senate. So I'm Adam Anderson. I have the privilege of representing you here in North Pinellas County and running for re-election. Fortunately, you will not see me on the primary ballot. You won't see me on the ballot until November. So I'm not here to talk about my race today. I'm here for two reasons. The first reason is to remind you that we have a very big, very important election this Tuesday. We have to make the decision about who it is that we want to represent us to defeat the Democrats in November. Very important. And you don't have to wait until Tuesday to cast your vote. You can do that today. There's voting locations open throughout the county right now. If you don't know where the closest location is to you, grab your phone, open up your browser right now, type in votepinellas.gov, and you can find the location that's closest to you. I cast my vote earlier this week for Byron Donalds at the Pinellas County Courthouse in Clearwater. Locations are open all weekend long, so don't wait till Tuesday. Get out and vote. And I'm confident that by the time you leave here today and you hear firsthand from Congressman Byron Donalds about his plan for our state, about his vision to not only protect the gains that we've made over these last 8 years with Governor DeSantis, but build upon them, to diversify our workforce here throughout the state, to work on the very complex issues that are facing all of our residents around affordability and property insurance. Congressman Donalds chaired our Insurance and Banking Committee when he served here in the Florida House. He understands these issues firsthand. The other reason that I'm here, and the reason we're all here, is that the man you're about to hear from today came to Florida when he was just a teenager. on a Greyhound bus with nothing more than a trunk full of clothes. He had no connections, no network, no inheritance, but he chose Florida to build his family here. He chose Florida to build his business here, a successful business, might I add, in financial services, and a sector I can tell you firsthand is not easy to be successful in. He represented and delivered for his community, serving 4 years in the Florida House. And then he went on to serve in U.S. Congress, representing Southwest Florida and making decisions for our nation. The man you're about to hear from today was instrumental in getting President Donald Trump across the finish line and making him our current president this last cycle, and saving America from the radical left socialists that wanted to destroy it. And ladies and gentlemen, now he is here this morning to ask you for your support in making him our next governor. President Donald Trump has endorsed him. Our law enforcement community is behind him. He is absolutely crushing it in the polls, but most importantly, Florida's families are with him. So ladies and gentlemen, get out of your seats, put your hands together, and join me in welcoming our next governor of the free state of Florida, Congressman Byron Donalds.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, good morning to everybody. You can do better than that in Pinellas County. Good morning to everybody. All right. Listen, it's been, I'm not going to do the heavy scripts. Is that okay? I'm going to just share what's kind of on my mind, what's on my heart this morning as I got up. Campaign trail is pretty interesting. We have been crisscrossing the state nonstop, really the last year, but especially over the last month. You know, we've been going back and forth from Washington, you have votes to cast, and then when I come back to Florida, it's been into a city in our great state going to see the people of Florida. And when you're on a journey like this, it's a little wild, actually. It's a grind. And so sometimes you wake up and the first question you have in your head is, all right, what city am I in this morning? And I had that thought this morning. I woke up and I was like, okay, what city am I in? Okay, looked at the phone, looked at the calendar. I know where I am. We're going to have a great rally here at St. Pete College here in Pinellas County. It's going to be awesome. And then you start thinking about the journey and the why. And I got to be honest with you. The passion I have for the why has not changed, not over this campaign or quite frankly over the last 15 years. You see, I got into politics not because somebody told me to or because I was born into it by my family or even because I was in student government and I just had a passion from when I was a teenager or even in college. That was actually not it. I got into politics because I was 29 years old in my career. The financial collapse was happening in this country. Our leaders had no idea what they were talking about. And I was mad, and I was frustrated, and I was angry. Our oldest son was just about 4. My wife was just about to give birth to our second son. We both were rising in our careers. We were fortunate enough to have jobs. We had just bought our first home, and we bought that home out of foreclosure in Southwest Florida. And then all of a sudden, the economy's beginning to collapse. And I was looking for answers. And it's interesting when you talk to voters today, even young voters today, they're looking for the same answers. They're trying to figure out how it's all going to come together. They want to make sure they can still pay their electric bills and buy food. Young kids are trying to figure out how they're going to buy homes and build a family. So when I woke up this morning and I'm thinking about the why, those are the things that came first. It reminded me that what we do here is not just speeches and events and rallies. What we do here is we lay a vision and have policies for the future of this great state. And in 3 days, Republicans are going to go to the polls and they are going to decide who the next nominee for governor is going to be in the Republican Party. Now, how many of you have actually voted? All right, a lot more people got to go. So do I. I'm voting Tuesday morning. But this election, this primary, is about making sure that not just the vision of Florida, but the dream of Florida remains alive and well for everybody. That's what it's about. We have become the preeminent state in all of America. We have become that state because, unlike so many others, we said no to the woke policies. We said no to the public health establishment. We said no to crazy nonsense like not backing our men and women in blue who keep us safe, because we support law enforcement in our state. And thank you, Sheriff Nacco, for being here and all your leadership in Pasco County. And he's going to do a great job in the state Senate. He's going to do a great job. People come to Florida because they just want to be free and they want to be left alone. People come to Florida because our taxes have been low and our government has been limited. People come to Florida because they want to just live a great life in a state that makes sense. And this is why our populations have grown. This is why companies are choosing to come. And this is why the Democrats have had no control in our state. Because our voters have said time and time again that we choose common sense and we choose conservative policies. And in 3 days, we will choose the next nominee for our party. But after those 3 days are done, we begin the real work of making sure that once again, we defend the Florida dream and we tell the Democrats that they can keep it in New York and Chicago, but it's not coming to Florida. We got some things we got to work on in our state. Insurance is out of control. Everybody's having to deal with it. Let me share something personal. My wife and I, we've had our own property and casualty insurance canceled 3 times over the last 2 years. It's happened to us too. Although the tort reform that Governor DeSantis and the legislature did a couple of years ago is working, there's more work to do. We have to reform the regulatory side of our insurance markets. Florida does have things that it can do, and we're going to do it. And I'm not saying it because I'm asking to be your governor. We're going to do it because when I was in the Florida House with then Speaker Sprouse, I chaired the Insurance and Banking Subcommittee. At the time, this was 7 years ago, at the time the insurance market was a lot cheaper than it is today. And so at that time, we looked at the insurance market from the regulatory side, and we said, you know what? Let's just focus on the other things that we have to do. But now we have to come back and fix it. And as governor, we're going to come back and fix it. And we're going to push down insurance costs in our state about 20 to 25%. Everybody's talking about property taxes. That's in your hands. You will decide. I'm just here to tell you that next year we have in our Constitution a Tax and Budget Reform Commission. And in that commission, we're going to study all taxes and fees in the state of Florida with a couple of goals. Number one, making sure that system is modernized and actually helps you keep more money in your pocket. Number two, if we can repeal homestead property taxes, we will get that done. And number three, if we can't get there, then how do we get seniors on fixed income and working families off the tax rolls in Florida? Because if our seniors who choose to spend their golden years in our state and our young people trying to build that Florida dream for themselves are struggling because of taxes, then we have to do better as government and help you keep more money in your pocket so you can afford Florida. We're all concerned about growth in this state. Everybody is, because people keep coming. I mean, look, can you really blame them? In all honesty, can you blame them for wanting to be a part of Florida? If I was going to take a poll, some of y'all decided to make this journey yourself 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. There's a reason for that. But what we have to do is we're going to have to manage our growth. And some people, especially when you're in the campaign, they get skittish. Oh, managed growth sounds like you're just going to build everywhere. No, not true. It acknowledges the reality that when you have a great state and you have great communities and people are safe, they're going to want to be a part of it. So how do we balance our beauty with the housing that we need? How do we make sure young people can buy a home in this state that's cost effective and they can build for themselves? How do we make sure you can still get to point A to point B in the time it used to take you, and now you're struggling because traffic is longer? The only people who are winning with more traffic in Florida are the podcasters. They get more listeners that way. I guess maybe that's why everybody's got a podcast today. But the truth is we have to balance that. We have to manage it. It's not going to take care of itself on its own. You can't just build a wall between Florida and Georgia. That might sound good on social media. It might be great during football season, but that's not the truth. The truth is we're going to have regional growth management plans in our state. How does Pinellas and Hillsborough manage its growth for the future, for the entire Tampa Bay region? How do we do that and also respect the differences within our state? Because look, when I'm in Tampa Bay, it's awesome. But Tampa Bay is very different than South Florida. And they're both very different from the heartland of Florida. And anybody been up to the Panhandle lately? It's very different from the Panhandle. And so we want to respect the differences of Florida while balancing all that. It's about our environment and our economy. They go hand in hand. I live in Southwest Florida. I've lived in Naples now for 23 years. 12 years ago, we had blue-green algae blooms in Southwest Florida. And when the algae hardened in our canals, the economy in Southwest Florida declined. We've already learned this lesson as Floridians, and we understand better than anybody else that if you do not take care of our environment, there will be no free state of Florida. There will be no economic prospects in Florida. This is why we've been committed to restoring the Everglades, and we're going to get that done in my time as governor. It will be completed, but it doesn't stop there. What are we going to do about fresh drinking water for our residents today and for the future of our state? But also, what about water treatment facilities? Nobody ever likes to talk about water treatment. It legitimately is a crappy subject. Nobody wants to talk about that stuff. But we got to have a strategy for the future. It's also about power. Nobody wants their utility bills to go up. I know I don't. I don't want that for me. You don't want it for you. Small business owners don't want it. Large business owners don't want it. So we have to think about how we're going to add power to our electric grid. And let's just be very clear about what actually keeps power costs cheap in our state. You have to rely on natural gas and nuclear power. More talk of more solar farms and wind farms is not going to lower utility bills in this state, or quite frankly, any state. And all that does is empower the Chinese. It does not empower the people of our country or of Florida. So yes, we have to embrace nuclear and natural gas. That's what we have to do to plan for our future. And look, the polls, everybody's talking about them. I don't care what news station you turn on, however long you spend your time in social media, everybody's talking about data centers too. Here's the truth. It is now state law that your utility bills will not go up for a hyperscale data center. That is the law. Adam voted for that bill in the Florida House this year. Governor DeSantis signed it into law. That law will remain on the books. It is also the law in Florida that a data center has to get a water use permit from the water management districts. They call it a consumptive use permit. We've been issuing consumptive use permits in Florida for a long time. Anybody who lives in a gated community, guess what? Your community has to get a consumptive use permit for water. The companies that bottle beverages in our state, and we have them, and they use water, they have to get a consumptive use permit from the water management district. We have a couple companies that bottle water from our aquifers and sell it back to you. They got to get a use permit. Farms, they got to get a use permit. Golf courses. Who likes to golf here? Oh, the hands are going up slow. They're like, I kind of do. Golf courses have to get a consumptive use permit because they use a lot of water too. We are going to protect Florida's water resources, and we're going to protect your utility bills. Because if you can't protect the people of our state, and if we don't have drinking water in our state, we have nothing. And so I want to hear it. I want you to hear it clearly from me. That is the law in Florida today, and that will not change as governor. We will keep that law in place. The other thing we're going to do, if they get built, they actually have to filter their own water on site. It's called closed-loop filtration. Think about a water treatment facility on site. So they get some water and they recycle that water. The technology allows that today. And the last piece, we don't want them near your homes. I don't want it near my house. Well, that's what they did in Virginia. They were right outside somebody's front door. We're not going to do that in Florida. We are going to keep them away. But this is how you plan for the future. I was at NASA headquarters. Kennedy Space Center. Well, it is going to be the future headquarters for NASA in Florida. But I was at Kennedy Space Center yesterday. We're going to be launching 1,000 rockets a year out of Florida. We're going to be manufacturing rockets in our state. And those jobs are not just about going to the moon and beyond. It's also about electrical jobs, electricians, welders, machinists. It's about the contractors who are going to be in the commercial space race here in Florida. We have the most active spaceport in the Western Hemisphere here in Florida. And what that does is it brings jobs and it brings opportunity to young people in our state who want to build this dream for themselves. But let's also be truthful about the space race. The space race today is using a lot of AI. In healthcare today, we're using a lot of AI. In government today, we're using a lot of AI. Everybody like how we're finding all the fraud all over the country? Do you know how that's being uncovered? AI. That's how it's happening, folks. And so we are going to need the computing power for the future of our economy. I'll give you one better. Everybody's got a cell phone. When you use Uber Eats, that's AI. When you call an Uber, that's AI. When you're in the Amazon marketplace and you're wondering how you ordered the product this morning and it's sitting on your doorstep at 5 o'clock, she's laughing because she did it already. That's AI. If you want to know how Netflix just always knows what you want to watch, come on, folks. It's AI. We have to understand that computing power is going to be essential in the future of Florida's economy and America's economy. And the people who want us to fail, the people who want us to come in second in the space race, the people who do not want our economies to expand, those are the Chinese. The Chinese are enemy. They are. They don't want us to succeed. And so we have a decision to make as Floridians and quite frankly as Americans. Are we going to have the computing power we need to remain number one on the face of this earth? And just to be very clear with you, I choose to be number one. The Florida that we need to make sure we protect is a Florida that is based upon common sense and family values. It's the reason people come. And so, yeah, in 3 days, you're going to go to the polls and you're going to vote. That's what you're going to do. I'm asking for your vote to be your nominee for governor. Adam talked a little bit about how I got to this podium. I'm just a kid. I was just a young kid who came here. I'm 47 now. I have 3 sons. Everything in my life that I've built has been in this state, and I'm blessed to have built it. My wife and I, we've been through the ups and the downs. When we were young, we struggled. We worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to make ends meet. When she was pregnant with our first son, she was doing Kelly services on the weekends while we were financing the security deposit in our monthly rent in our first apartment. We had no idea how we were going to buy a home. We were still trying to get out of debt from college. Everybody remember those stupid credit cards you filled out when you were in college? Had one. That was not smart. He's laughing. He's like, yeah, I had one too. That wasn't smart. But we worked our way out of it and we built something. And the funny thing happened, we watched a lot of other families in our state do the same thing. That Florida dream that I spend so much time talking about, that's why I'm running for governor. Because I want that Florida dream to be alive and well for everybody in our state. And the way we keep it alive is we have to choose at the ballot box. Every 2 years, elected officials storm TV, we storm your mailboxes. Text messages are now the big thing. I know everybody's sick of the text messages too. I just delete. I don't even read them anymore. I know everybody's frustrated with them. But the reason why we engage you so much every 2 years is because the way we keep this dream of self-government and freedom alive and well, you have to choose it. And we implore you every 2 years that, yes, this is the most important election in your lifetimes. And the reason why that's just become a trope in politics is because it's the very essence of our nation. When Benjamin Franklin was walking out of that very, very hot room in Philadelphia, and he was asked, well, Dr. Franklin, what do we have? And he said very clearly, and we all know it now as Americans, you have a republic if you can keep it. And how we keep the republic alive and well is we go to the polls and we vote. We vote for the communities that we want to see. We vote to make sure that we're backing law enforcement. We vote to make sure that we have common sense conservatism guiding the best state in all of America. That's what we vote for every single day. And in about 80 days or so, when the Republican primaries are over and we have our nominee, we have to choose something again. We have to choose to defeat the Democrats one more time in Florida. Now, if you've been in Pinellas County for some time, you might know who it looks like is going to be the Democrat nominee for governor. This is a man who said that Dr. Fauci had unimpeachable judgments. Insane. Because we now know that Dr. Fauci lied to us all. And David Jolly supported the lockdowns of Dr. Fauci. And if it wasn't for Governor Ron DeSantis, Florida would have been locked down like every other state. And Ron DeSantis deserves the credit for keeping us open. David Jolly has come out just the other day and he said something I never thought I would hear him say. Because I still remember Republican David Jolly, but I guess there's a new David Jolly. He said the other day that he wants to have gun control in the state of Florida. This is somebody who now all of a sudden, because he wants to cozy up to the radicals in the Democrat Party, now wants to take away your Second Amendment rights. When I was in the legislature, I fought and I voted to protect your Second Amendment rights. As governor, we are not going to take away your God-given Second Amendment rights. You have to choose that in November. David Jolly is somebody who thinks it's only him and the WNBA that think it's okay for boys to be in girls' sports. I never thought in 2026 we would be having this conversation again. I thought we were very clear in 2024 that we're going to protect girls and we're going to protect their sports. But apparently David Jolly disagrees. So if you don't have enough judgment to understand that boys are bigger, stronger, and faster, and the way you protect our girls is you protect their locker rooms and you protect their sports, if you don't get that, you don't have the judgment to lead Florida. You'd think I'd be done, but I got more. I got more. David Jolly believes it's okay to transgender the kids. No politics. Reality. We already know that kids who had their puberty changed because they had these weirdos on the left confuse a child going through puberty to either go through castration or a double mastectomy, that their suicide rate is way off the charts from the rest of society, way off the charts. These are kids who are going through issues of, frankly, dealing with their own self-image. And instead of protecting them, the radical left and David Jolly think it's okay to change their gender. Even the American Medical Association has finally come out and said, you know what? We should not allow that practice to continue. Even Europe has finally come out and said, you know what? We cannot let this practice continue. But now you have David Jolly, who is a Trojan horse for the Democrat Socialists of America. He thinks it's okay. Well, Pinellas County, I don't care that he was your congressman. I'm telling you today, anybody that will not protect the puberty of our children should never be governor of the great state of Florida. Never. One of the greatest political speeches ever given in American history was Ronald Reagan's 1965 speech, A Time for Choosing. I remember early on in politics, I used to watch that speech a lot when I was trying to figure out just where I was politically when I was 30 years old. When I was trying to understand, was I just an independent or did I have strongly held beliefs? I realized through watching that speech and many other things that I am a conservative. I'm proud of it. Conservatism is not about Republicans versus Democrats. Conservatism is not about positioning yourself in a general election. Conservatism is about the common sense that protects families, protects communities, allows economies to thrive, and continues to build and allow for the greatest nation that we have ever known to continue to be better year after year after year. That is the very essence of conservatism. And in Florida, we have chosen conservatism time and time again. Well, folks, this November is another time for choosing. Are you going to choose a candidate who will allow the Democrat Socialists of America to appoint judges in our state and to be appointed to the state college boards like here at St. Pete College in our state? Or are we going to choose common sense conservatism once again to make sure that Florida remains #1 in all of America? Are we going to choose the radicalism of David Jolly and the left that doesn't even have enough decency to protect our girls? Or are we going to choose the common sense conservatism that allows young women to grow up to be great women and thrive in the great state of Florida? My mission and my message is simple to all Republicans in our state. It is time for us to come together and realize one thing, that when we stand united, the Democrats don't have a shot, because they can keep that crazy in California, they can have the madness in Chicago, and they need to keep Mamdani and AOC in New York, but they're never gonna have power in the great state of Florida. God bless you, Pinellas County. God bless you, and God bless America.
Fell off, I'm still hot, knock your shell off. My money stacked fat, plus I can't turn the swell off.